Mary Magdalene is arguably one of the most important people in all of Christianity. She's mentioned more often than any other woman in the New Testament, appearing in almost half of Jesus' parables. So who was Mary Magdalene, and why do Christians today still remember her? Welcome to another episode where we look into the historical roots of the faith that Christians hold dear today. I'm your host. Today's questions come from a viewer who asks, who was Mary Magdalene? And another viewer who asks, why is Mary Magdalene such an important figure in Christianity? In order to answer these questions, let's dive into what the Bible has to say about Mary Magdalene. Now, when it comes to women in the Bible, sometimes it can be difficult to know how to pronounce their names, because they were written in Hebrew and Aramaic and Greek. So today, we'll try to do our best at pronouncing them. But if we get it wrong, please feel free to correct us in the comments below. Now, there are many women in the Bible, so let's first identify which Mary we're talking about here. The Gospel of John, Mary is identified as one of three Marys, this being Mary of Magdala, or Mary of Clopas or Alpha, otherwise known as Mary the Less, and Mary of Bethany, also known as Lazarus' sister. Now in the Bible, Mary of Magdala is the only one of the three to be called simply Mary, and she is also the only one not to be related to someone else. All of the other women in the Bible are identified by their fathers, like Mary, daughter of Eli, for example. But Mary Magdalene is simply Mary, which scholars believe means that she was probably a Galilean woman who came from a prestigious family with wealth and influence. The town of Magdala was near the Sea of Galilee and was a prominent fishing center. So Mary may have come from a wealthy fishing family. This would help to explain why she had so much time and resources to travel around with Jesus and his disciples, even having the resources to anoint Jesus' body with expensive oils. The Gospels tell us that Mary Magdalene was a former demoniac, a woman possessed by demons. She was delivered by Jesus and then became one of his followers. Now, this might have been the case with other women who followed Jesus, but Mary Magdalene is the only one explicitly stated to have been a demoniac. We don't know exactly what this means, but some scholars believe that the word demoniac was used by the author of the Gospel of Luke to describe a woman who suffered from seizures. Other scholars believe that the word referred to a woman who had been accused of witchcraft and was shunned by society. Whatever her situation may have been, the fact that Jesus cast out the demons from Mary shows that he had compassion for those who were suffering and outcasts of society. He did not turn anyone away who sought his help. So now that we've learned a little bit about Mary Magdalene, let's talk about why she is such an important figure in Christianity. Mary Magdalene is the feminist icon Christianity needs today. There are many reasons why Mary Magdalene was important to Jesus, and why she is important to Christians today. But perhaps the greatest reason is that she was a woman who followed Jesus and believed in him despite living in a culture that oppressed women. In those days, women could not own property, could not initiate a divorce, and were considered inferior to men. And this is especially true under Roman occupation, when women could not even testify in court. However, Mary Magdalene was a woman who chose to follow her own path, rather than conforming to the expectations of her culture. She was a woman who chose to follow her own path, rather than conforming to the expectations of her culture. She was a devoted disciple of Jesus Christ, who witnessed his crucifixion and resurrection. She was also the first person to whom Jesus appeared after his resurrection, which demonstrates the importance of women in spreading the message of the gospel. Mary Magdalene was equal to Peter, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. All tell stories of Peter and other male disciples failing Jesus when he needed them the most. For example, in Matthew 26, all of the disciples abandoned Jesus when he is arrested. This was not the case for Mary Magdalene, who remained devoted to Jesus throughout his trial and crucifixion. Additionally, Mary Magdalene was the first person to whom Jesus revealed himself after his resurrection. This demonstrates the importance of women in the early church and the belief that women were just as capable as men of understanding and spreading the message of the gospel. Mary Magdalene was Jesus' spiritual mother. While Mary Magdalene was not Jesus' biological mother, she played an important role in Jesus' life as a spiritual mother. She was the one who anointed Jesus' body after his crucifixion, demonstrating her deep love and devotion for him. Additionally, she was the one who was present at Jesus' crucifixion and was the first person to whom Jesus appeared after his resurrection. This demonstrates the importance of Mary Magdalene in the early church and the belief women were just as capable as men of understanding and spreading the message of the gospel. Mary Magdalene was a revolutionary. Mary Magdalene was a revolutionary woman who broke the mold in her day. She was a woman who chose to follow her own path rather than conforming to the expectations of her culture. She was a devoted disciple of Jesus Christ who witnessed his crucifixion and resurrection. She was also the first person to whom Jesus appeared after his resurrection. This demonstrates the importance of women in spreading the message of the gospel. There are many other reasons why Mary Magdalene was important to Jesus and why she is important to Christians today. However, these are just a few. She was a strong, independent woman who broke the mold in her day. She was a loyal and devoted follower of Jesus Christ, who was present at his crucifixion and resurrection. And she was the first person to whom Jesus appeared after his resurrection. This demonstrates the importance of women in the early church and the belief that women were just as capable as men of understanding and spreading the message of the gospel. Let me end by saying that Mary Magdalene is an inspiration to all Christians today. She was a woman who lived in a time when women were considered inferior to men, yet she chose to follow her own path and was a devoted disciple of Jesus Christ. She is an example to all of us who face oppression and persecution for our beliefs. All right, everyone, that's it for today's episode. Let us know in the comments section what you thought about this topic and whether or not you think Mary Magdalene is an important figure in Christianity. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on whatever platform you use to listen to this podcast. And as always, thanks for watching.